You've done more LPL time than I have, so
you're too kind, young one. You're too kind. But I do appreciate the niceness in your words. Bans for JDG remaining pretty much the same. I can't recall what their third ban was, but for some reason in my mind, I think it was an AD. Okay, well, they didn't ban Ashe last time. I'm pretty sure that was Ultra Prime, but they pick up that mantle this time around.
Yeah.
But Kalista, Skarner remain those bans. Ultra Prime thinking about the Vi, and I mean, to be fair, it's off the top of my head pretty much the only Premier engaged jungler still up and available. I suppose there's a Sejuani, so maybe we end up with a Vi Sejuani. Very enthralling jungle matchup, but it does depend on how JDG want to respond if this gets locked in, and it does.
This is the first time we've seen a Poppy ban in the first round from either team. So I think that switch up alone, Ultra Prime were trying to field for one of these power picks from JDG that, you know, this time around they were forced to ban the Ashe, and I think they had run with Corki, Ashe, Vi most games. By sacking those two, they said to JDG, hey man, we're going to get one of these picks. And, you know, Vi just being in the meta, doesn't matter what else has changed over the past, you know, few splits. She's just so damn reliable with her ultimate. But at least for the side of JDG, Paze finally gets his hands on Ezreal this early on in the draft, so he doesn't have to worry about it being banned. And of course, yeah, they get Vi, but she doesn't get to Wukong.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of teams will probably take the Wukong trade, especially if you can find really strong supplemental engage around it. One thing, as I recall, because it was Hovered, it was Victor that's been banned very frequently by JDG. And if Ultra Prime don't pick it up now, I wonder if that's just going to end up being the priority. Like, that's the tell. Like, JDG were banning it very frequently. You have an opportunity to, sure, blind it here, but then potentially ban away two mid laners, because you've got a pretty easy R4 for top lane right now. You know Jax isn't going anywhere but top, so go Victor, ban away go ban away two more mids that you don't want to deal with, right? Something like the Azir, something like the Akali, and then you just very happily sit in the mid lane, scale up. Ahri could also actually be the other thing, now that I think about it, that they remove away here from Saber. And as for Ultra Prime, it's like, well, top lane picks, what do we not want to deal with as the Jax? A lot of the frustrating matchups have already been picked in prior games. So maybe top lane bans drop in priority, unless you're looking at the real niche picks of Hala, in which case Udyr to kind of deal with a lane swap. Sure, maybe you ban out a skirmisher like Fiora at absolute worst case. It is the Silas they remove away though, JDG. So happy to deal with Ahri. Now we'll see where Ultra Prime decides to go for their final ban.
Maybe another top lane option that would be problematic for Jax.
I mean if we're thinking like strong lane swap options, Ornn is one that comes to mind. Malphite, wow, okay.
Wow.
They are not only digging, but very much respecting the capabilities of what Arla can lock in here. Gragas still up and available though, so it's a lane swap option, top lane pick to me, to Arla. This is what this is signaling in my mind, but also something that is very good one-to-one into the Jax, right? All about the negating. There's the Ornn. Instead of that, gives them the supplemental engage that JDG need for this composition, and of course the scaling aspects as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past JDG. Whoa! Tryndamere mid and Elise board.
What?
This is what I was talking about, Jamada. They're cooking, and it's coming from Saber.
Well, this is interesting, to say the least. So, Tryndamere mid, haven't seen it for a while. Have they even really touched it from when it was, you know, strong a few years ago? I feel like
2021 summer was the last time I remember seeing it.
Systems around it changed, but it, as a pick, didn't actually get directly nerfed. Galio support here for missing into this Elise pick. And honestly, I kind of like it. You've got a lot of very strong disengage tools. Victor loves champions coming into him because it means that he doesn't have to go towards them to put the damage out. So having a massive Galio ult on top of you anytime you get ulted as Vi sounds like a pretty good deal. And then the taunt as well to stop Tryndamere from right-clicking people. This is a very, very explosive draft. I don't know, though, for Ultra Prime, how this game looks if there's a lane swap. If there's standard lanes, great, but lane swaps are always the spanner in the works here that, frankly, you can never rule out. And I don't know how to tell you this, chat. I don't know how to tell you this, audience at home. JDG, they've drafted for a lane swap. They've got Ornn. They've got lanes that are very, very good at dealing with dives, right? Through Galio and through Ezreal. Galio is also excellent at just hitting level 2 and, like I said, dealing with dives. Just go walk towards Ornn. Not that he needs the help in surviving the dive anyway. And Ezreal gets the farm for free. As exciting as this early game could be, I hate to be that guy, but lane swaps are, unfortunately, the nullifying and very likely thing to play out here as we load in towards game number 3.
Counterpoint.
Okay.
Elise has repel. Smile.
Well,
I don't know if it's gonna be enough. I felt like being an ass and just playing devil's advocate.
I feel much like in the jungle, Elise needs to hit level 3 to be useful in terms of the additional bit of damage that she kind of needs. But of course, excellent at bouncing tower aggro around. Let's see how JDG play this one out, though, because my expectation is they probably won't want to play these lanes out standard, right? Or if they read that maybe Ultra Prime are trying to match a side swap, a lane swap, then they just do the exact same thing. If we get standard lanes, I'll be very, very surprised. Though, as I say it, everyone is doing the standard scrum lines. JDG being a little bit aggressive and pushing forward into the jungle.
I'm going to ask what probably is a dumb question, but have other Victor mids been also running Grasp of the Undying?
Occasionally, yeah. When you have like a melee matchup like this, you see it come up. And,
yeah. Okay.
Again, it's just about poke, just about a little bit of additional sustain as well.
Yeah.
It does feel nice. It's just one of those runes that, for the time being, I don't want to say it's flavor of the month because it's strong and it's been being picked for a little while now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people are starting to come to the understanding of how strong the resolve tree is as a whole. You get things like Demolish, you get things like, I forget the name of the health stacking one. It's escaping me right now.
Overgrowth.
Like
Overgrowth.
3 hours of sleep. Thank you for Overgrowth. And all of those additional stacking aspects just make it super, super powerful. And actually, just as a point of interest, may I remind you that Tank Victor does exist. And it does revolve around having Grasp. And if there was ever a game to go Tank Victor,
it's a lot of melees.
It would be this one. Like Ice Gauntlet, you get the armor and slow into what is, I mean, like, as far as it's basically 4.5 meters, right, with Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
So you could very easily see a Grasp of the Undying plus Iceborne, and at most maybe it's a Riftmaker or a Leandries, right? And that's about as much AP as you get, and Scout just works off the base damages and survives. Though I will say, JDG will be lacking damage, and I would worry about how much they could actually output in response to Ultra Prime. But it would keep Scout alive, and at the end of the day, you have to be alive to deal damage.
Yeah, and if he's alive for that much longer, for a hero's entrance to actually complete his channel and make the counter engage possible, I buy it. Now, Junhao has skipped a couple of camps to make sure that he can arrive on this bottom side of the map looking for that vault breaker. It's just a simple sidestep for missing, but he's already burned the flash, and it's not a flash, just the ignite. He's not going to even try and escape, just accepts his fate, and that's first blood for Ultra Priming.
Yep, super easy. That's what I was saying. I'll be surprised if JDG are happy to play out these lanes. Not seeing a lane swap here. Really an interesting choice given the trend that we've seen in terms of how active JDG have been around being very engaged about the lane assignments that they've played out so far this series. And the gank, a little bit untelegraphed, right? It's 3 camps into bot side. Pretty much here for Junhao, as he's going to take a reset. And the Shun, unfortunately, hunting will not find anything down here.
No dice for the Monkey King. He will be able to pick up this Scuttle Crab, and at least allows him to have completed 6 total camps, but because Junhao had snuck away that blue buff, he will be feeling a little sad in the department. He does not have a way to constantly have extra CDR. Mana not necessarily a problem for Wukong, since its mana costs are not necessarily that high, and I feel like with these jungle pets, you really don't ever run out of mana if you're managing your abilities well anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But they are preparing for this mid lane play.
Yeah. Trying to match each other here. Saber shouldn't be in trouble though if Shun makes it here. Certainly will be.
Flash, and it's not in time. The last auto attack is completed by Scout. And despite burning both summoner spells, Saber goes down.
Saber goes down, Scout gets that kill. And I don't know how to say it, Raafaa. I need to see Scout's first base. I need to know what he wants to do this game with the build. It's going to be very, very, very fun to track if this ends up being tank. RosieLove's here to support Junhao, so Shun might have to give up these Raptors, though he certainly doesn't want to. Junhao doesn't have Smite, so that's Shun's.
Oh my god.
We'll take up the big one.
XD.
A little bit anticlimactic, but Shun is very, very far behind. You can see he's almost the whole level down. Missing is man marking this constant invader right here, because if Shun loses these Krugs, and he certainly will, again, no Smite. I don't know if he got it.
Missing tries to delay the invade of Junhao and RosieLove trying to collapse onto Shun. They both take a lot of damage on the way out. And based on the numbers, I want to say Junhao got the bigger Krug and Shun got some of the smaller stuff. Could be wrong, but overall, the strategy of try and put Shun behind is definitely the game plan of attack for Ultra Prime in this third game.
And it's working. And again, you know, no lane swap. This is kind of what gets to happen here, you know, for Ultra Prime, and things look real nice in this early game as Scout, that last bit of burst damage, maybe a little bit unexpected, but certainly Victor, even in these early stages, in terms of those kind of trades, always going to look quite favorable if you eat the entire Chaos Storm. But JDG, definitely a little bit shaken by this early game as Shun is an entire level down, and there's not really too much he can do about it, though this cross map here is definitely going to help him out getting these camps whilst Junhao picks up grubs. Certainly going to be a big deal as Pace also gets this mid lane plate with missing. So the cross map actively happening here for JDG, and should net them back a little bit of gold overall. It's going to feel nice just in the immediate future.
I'm liking what Ultra Prime are at least attempting so far in this game 3. They haven't really gone for the dives that we were somewhat maybe concerned that was going to be something that both teams were going to try and attempt or, you know, deflate. But in this case, it's just been, hey, you have an Elise on your team. It doesn't matter if it's jungle or support. You can be very proactive by invading. You have high base damage. You have high threat potential on any champion in the game early on. And the fact that it is a support, not attached to having to farm camps to keep up in levels, you just, you know, use the support item mechanic to keep yourself relatively useful at this stage of the game. You get to move with something like a Vi who has a little bit of CC if you land the Vault Breaker. And while Wukong can skirmish efficiently, Cyclone is really the game breaker that allows Wukong to be super competitive. Otherwise, you're just hoping that you don't get CC'd to death.
And hopefully he doesn't get CC'd to death. It's very possible in this game, right? You go in, if you're going at the angle where Elise is, then it's like you eat the Cocoon, then you eat the VIQ. Everything just starts to look kind of rough. We'll see how Shun gets on. This is definitely one of his stronger performing champions in recent years. So he's very, very tenured on it. As many junglers are, but some are far, far less efficient than others, as Arla sidesteps that Q. It's going to be big in keeping him alive here.
He's going to call the Ram, but doesn't get a chance to actually use it because he was CC'd to death. And for Ultra Prime, that's the second kill of the game going their way. And John being able to pick up some of that gold is now really putting the gold snowball in the right places on the team.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I'm not sure, maybe as we panned up, if Arla had just used that Bellow's Breath so he didn't have it to buffer the Vi ult there. But certainly should have been able to have done it, even at that closer range. It's not the hardest thing to predict. Unfortunately, maybe he had the ult coming in, so he didn't want to get stuck in the animation of the W. Could also be that. But dive successful for Ultra Prime. Get themselves a little bit of gold. But again, cross map still kind of going on, you know, for JDG. Not losing out entirely as they got that Dragon Blast. That was all going on. And Shun had vision because of that clone. So he gets that Smite Steal off too.
Doing his best to keep up and make sure that he's not getting completely counter jungled out of the game. And, you know, for his credit, you know, it's only a few hundred gold in favor of Junhao. I want to answer your question that you know, poised earlier in the game. What build is Scout going for? Well, there you go.
Yeah, damage. Well, that's fine. You know, would have been nice to see the tank build here, though.
It would have been neat.
It would have been neat. I do feel like JDG probably would have lacked a little bit too much damage as Scout's gonna learn about being on the end of damage, I think, real soon, though. That wave clear, frustrating, not gonna matter. Force the dive anyway.
Yep. Zhang leads it. Junhao follows up, and everyone's there for the party, and nothing Scout could have done. No chance in even trying to burn the flash. He knew that his fate was pretty much done and dusted. JDG, the best that they can answer is look in the mid lane, get some extra plates for pays, while the rest of Ultra Prime, you know, be glad in the fact that they over-invested for that play and guarantee first brick. And I think because they also got first blood, that's feats of strength completed for them.
Yeah, feats of strength getting there. Oh yeah, no, you're right. First brick, yeah, no, just done already. Just no one has tier 2 boots except for the Elise, of course. The
Hell yeah.
Come up, so not bad. And again, you have to remember, completing the feats of strength doesn't give you anything immediate, right? I think this is something that I think as viewers, and maybe even as broadcasters, we need to drill into viewers. It's about when the boot upgrades eventually happen, and the difference maker that they can or can't be. But for now, it's still good omens and good signs for Ultra Prime, right? It's a 2k gold lead, and I will say, if things kind of stay open like this, Ultra Prime can accelerate this game kind of quickly when, realistically, JDG have to wait for a great sidestep on that. But I have to wait a long time, really, to scale up, right? You're talking Ornn, Victor, Ezreal. These are champions that only really want to start kind of being active around 2 items at the earliest.
Yeah.
So this gives Ultra Prime a lot of freedom in these next maybe 10 minutes or so of farm, though. Scout's going to get a little bit accelerated as they cross-map this tower on the top side.
I mean, Ultra Prime are definitely taking advantage of this natural early game strength that they have drafted for themselves. I mean, this Elise support alone, being able to freely roam, and as we stated before, because it is support, you don't necessarily care about trying to keep up your gold and income the same way that you would as a jungle Elise. You can just show up in lane, you know, collect your minions, or, you know, get your poke off, and then boom, you're an annoying spider that is pretty lethal at the early stage of the game, and you get to reap all the benefits without having to worry about the maintenance and the upkeep. As missing.
Oh.
Might face check in the Saber, but, you know, thankfully he is pretty darn tanky. He's not going down anytime soon.
Yeah, I was worried there for a second because he hit the Scryer's Orb, and I don't think it actually clipped Saber in that bush. Still able to walk out though with the taunt, so saves Scout the potential of getting collapsed on, but again, it's just continual rotations here from Ultra Prime and kind of giving JDG a bit of a dose of their own medicine from some of these earlier games. But again, as to kind of be by design of this draft, and again, the question still in my mind, why no lane swap JDG this game? If there was ever a game to do it, it was definitely this one out of all 3. And again, it just does things like, look at this top lane lead that Jung has, right? It's 4k. Ornn not going to be able to hold Jax, you know, in a side lane forever. Same for the Tryndamere, actually, which, now that I think about it, Malphite was a genius ban.
Yeah.
Malphite is excellent at dealing with both of those champions on the side lane. In fact, Malphite can kind of outright win a 1v1 versus Tryndamere at times. It's quite particular, I will say.
So what you're saying is they could.
Yeah, it's
Hell yeah.
They will pick up this dragon, so one piece. JDG picking up that first one, really, really big for them, because again, they want to scale. So not being under any threat of, you know, this potential early soul is also gonna again alleviate some of that pressure that they were probably gonna start to feel. As a Scout, put a little bit of damage onto Jian here.
Does Jung need the flash? That's the real question. Scout.
Nope.
Not enough damage in the tank. Does force him away from this lane, but you know, doesn't really seem like Jung was in any real need to collect any minions since it was already pushing into Scout's tower. JDG just playing the map as slow and safely as they can. As you have already pointed out, this is a relatively slow and scaling composition that they have for themselves, and if they can survive the early onslaught of this roaming Elise and Vi Death Squad, they'll be in a better position. I am curious, though, how well they're going to be able to handle the side lane split push of both this tryndamere and this Jax, because the fact that, you know, tryndamere not so much accelerated, but Jax definitely in a better spot. You know, I don't know if Scout will always be in a position to maintain this Jax.
Yeah, that's the main thing, right? Scout and Shun gonna try and dive this Jax right now.
That's one way to put pressure on them, but Shun takes a little too much damage from the turret, and Jung realizes it at the last possible second, getting one flash bonk in. Scout trying to be applying a little bit more pressure, but just doesn't have enough damage in the tank yet to force Jung out of lane. Okay, he's basing now, but not enough to kill him.
Definitely not enough to kill him, and yeah, Shun just underestimating how much tower damage he was taking, but also just a real good read from Jung to realize that that flash forward of the W wouldn't give lethal over, and he makes that 1v2 work. Excellent stuff on the weak side. And yeah, I mean, JDG will just be on the back foot. Like, I don't know how else to frame it to you for the foreseeable future of about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. As Ultra Prime, outside of having what was a very good lane assignment here, you know, Scout into the Jian, Victor into this Jax, that 1v1 kind of turns it all around. Bounces back a lot of XP off that solo kill. He's going to do just fine for the next 5 minutes or so. Just sitting here and kind of soaking up all of this pressure.
JDG currently thinking about making a dive onto Jung on the bottom side of the turret, or at least forcing him off and ceding defense of the structure. This will give JDG a little bit of extra gold in their pockets for gold. Ala looking for potentially lethal onto Saber, just a trade of ultimates so far, and Saber will respect the potential lethal that Ala does have, and will stay out of range. As now Ultra Prime their answer, send the Rift Herald mid lane, get a little bit of extra damage with the charge. Pays is able to ensure that it doesn't fall, cleans up the minion wave, and we got Dragon spawning in under 10 minutes here, or 2 minutes.
Yeah, God forbid it was 10 minutes. I mean, look, I think the close enough. The thing here is really how far can Ultra Prime push this lead? How much harder can they really force the issue in these side lanes specifically? They broke down this tier 1 very, very low, right? It's not quite dead, but one minion wave and a stiff breeze will do it. How much they can snowball off the back of this, because JDG still a little whiles away from being able to play. And I think Scout's going towards Zhonya's second, so he's looking to really nullify some of this engage. Pays has the Triforce, but hasn't quite finished up the Muramana yet. Whereas on the opposite side, Ultra Prime, pretty sure, off the top of my head, as you can see, the scoreboard's not up on the bottom side. We don't control that of your screen. Pretty sure Wako is close to a second item. For now, though, Ultra Prime, very happy to kind of just coast through this game, pick up objectives, and we'll see how far they're willing to push. As finally, Prime's back up, and as I was saying, you know, Saber close to a second item, Wako close to a second item. Pays has his 2 items completed, and they're playing for this tier 2 on the bottom side of Prime.
Nice sidestep and dodge from RosieLove, using the repel to get away from Call of the Forge God. Forced the flash, though, from the ram charge of Ala as he was trying to combo it onto Riddle, or the little rock thing pillar he makes for that knockup. Now the Spider Woman is down a flash, but not completely the end of the world. Otacon is spawning in just under a minute here. and 2 item spikes are slowly coming online for everyone. And I just want to tie everything back together. Despite Ultra Prime having a little bit of very fun and explosive early game action, they haven't really steamrolled this game ahead as Jong... Oh, wait, he has survived? No way! I thought he was dead!
I was like,
I didn't realize
why
he
is
was channeling teleport. I thought the
Oh
homeboy
my
just said,
God.
yeah, I'm dead. I might as well just stand here and, you know, just suck it up. But man, that teleport channel allowed him to survive.
my go? Oh, holy moly. Of course as well, because, you know, that channel on the TP now, so short, right? So short. And having already casted that ultimate scout, he can't interrupt it, even if he noticed. And I've got to say, is it me or did the particles around the TP look weird? Like, it was kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was happening.
I mean, underneath the Chaos Storm as well, mind you. So he starts TPing here. And I mean, never mind, it's a long channel, he just doesn't die. That's it. Like, period. That's so funny. Well, Ultra Prime, I think they're... If anything, they're winning the mental game right now.
Yeah.
And if this Atacon goes down, mind you, it's always voracious, right? So you get the GA. GA in this kind of situation where you're messing around on side lanes, stuff could get funky. You can trade for tower. I mean, tier 2 just got taken by Jun on the bottom side, so that's no longer an option. But you know, you start trying to break the base open. You die at the base to respawn, to then walk back out to Baron. You know, all of these kind of stupid things can start going on. JDG aren't careful, but crucially, Pays has hit second item and Zhonya's is available for scout. So if JDG want to, they can start looking for 5v5s, but they will still be very, very tricky to play out, and there's no guarantee that Ultra Prime are even going to give it to them.
It's been a relatively quiet game from JDG this time around, especially from Pays, who was the big star in our first 2 games of this series. Granted, the games that JDG were playing were a lot faster than this game 3 that we've been observing for the past 21 minutes. Composition different in terms of the win condition they're trying to achieve, but this is going to be the moment in these next upcoming objective fights where JDG have to really make a statement in which way the momentum is going to swing. And with Ultra Prime starting up, Otacon, this could be that moment.
Could be. I mean, honestly, Ultra Prime needs to just leave this thing alone. I think any opportunity you give JDG to potentially take a 5, like, they'll take it, you know?
Yeah.
So they really need to just back up, relax, keep that thing alive, right? Just leave it there and don't die, right? Draw them in, but draw them in and find picks. Do not take these potentially bigger skirmishes that you absolutely have to.
Ultra Prime willing to sack a little bit of their health just to maintain vision control and make those picks even easier. You're already starting to see the effects of how powerful this split push setup, though, with Jong's Jax and Saber now completing 2 items on the tryndamere. You know, obviously that early death, not the most inspiring when we're seeing a first-time tryndamere mid in God knows how long on the LPL and maybe globally, but Tryndamere's now to the point where it is very hard to deal with the amount of CDR that you have to constantly spin on someone and either make your escape super easy or run down someone in the side lane, and you have all the sustain with the grass procs and the Ravenous Hydra. Saber's going to get to a point where it almost will feel like he is undealable with.
It will be sooner rather than later, especially if he hits 3rd item, right? Saber, then at that point,
yeah.
I mean, it kind of depends on what he wants to do. I would expect he just goes more raw damage, but I've seen Tryndameres do very strange things, so I'm not even going to comment on the build. I'm not even going to comment on the options. He is going to be dealing with a health stacker and an armor stacker. So, you know, do with that information what you will. That said, still could just go for raw damage, you know, things like just outright an IE, hit 50%, and then of course the passive gets him the rest of the way there. And then he's just cooking with straight gas at that point.
Yeah. Tension is still building up between both teams as Shun was looking for potentially an engage, or at least just trying to spook Ultra Prime into getting any flashes for free without having to burn any big buttons of their own. Dragon just spawning now. Baron about to spawn in the next 40 seconds. Otacon still on the table. Neither team has really made a strong attempt to try and collapse on it and start it up. It's just been used to push and pull people around. So we've been slowly waiting, Jamada, for the action to finally spark up from the catalyst.
Yeah, and it's always really scary when Atacon's on the top side of the map too, because one bad fight, even if it's around, you know, hell, like sometimes Dragon, you can have time to take both of those objectives. But if it's top, 100%, you know, you can get Atacon, you can get Baron. And that is a very, very unforgiving position to be in. So Ultra Prime have to pay their due diligence, and they're keeping Scout on this top side. They understand that that is where their bread is buttered. That is their strong side, right? Pays just sat here being a wave clear, you know, bot. That's all he really has to do. Scout keeps Cryo topside, and then looking for a play up here.
Wants it. Cyclone sets up the guaranteed flash taunt for missing, looking for Saber. Ignite burns him down, and RosieLove does not get a chance to escape. Saber lives, but the rest of Ultra Prime now down without a support, and it's a 5-man advantage strong for JDG on the map as they take out this tier 2 turret, and now they're starting to make the pings toward the Otacon.
Yeah, they should just be able to pick that up, and I mean, they might even consider a Baron. I mean, it's really up to them, to be honest with you. One or the other. They all fight over Scuttle, but it will be condition. The vision pop comes through. They see Junhao. And now remember, there's no information for Ultra Prime. They know that because of the Scuttle prop. They're going to be spotted on that youth rotation. It's going to be alright. So no Baron, no big play, no decision made by JDG there.
We got a little bit of the explosive action from JDG as they find potentially another pick. Junhao, if he goes down, surely that should be both of these epic objectives on the table. But JDG are first going to take control of the mid wave, making sure that Ultra Prime don't have a chance to contest this tier 2 turret. Now that it's been taken care of, their eyes are on the top river.
Yep, top river. Big objectives. Should be both of them. And I mean, Ultra Prime, let's see what they try to do to make this awkward as a takedown. Atacon, I imagine they might give over. But the problem, as I started to do the maths myself, the problem is they give over Atacon. They do Atacon first. Going for a Baron contest just feels horrible, right? You've got 2 teleports already available. So if you kill those solo laners, they'll just withdraw and teleport right back. So take the towers. JDG understand that just because of that, they're going to have to go back to base just to defend and ensure they don't lose the entire thing. But now, with the Atacon buff, you get a free shot at Baron, right? You get a free opportunity to draw Ultra Prime into a 5v5 and ensure that you get the conditions you want, pretty much, for a fight. And all summoner spells on the important members up and available, right? Missing doesn't need flash to find successful impact or high impact in these team fights. With so many melees, he's just going to naturally be able to do his thing. So JDG, good little bit of recovery. They're still down 3,000 gold.
Yeah, and I will say JDG are giving a lot of respect to Ultra Prime's split pushing potential. They did not immediately gun for the Baron after Otacon was completed because they had to correct a lot of these waves on both top and bot wave. Ala might be in trouble. Junhao and Jung have done a great job of routing him off and away from any reinforcements. The rest of JDG are just pushing through the mid lane. Ala, there goes the Otacon GA. That is gone, but JDG will take advantage of this and pretty much open the map through the mid lane. Tier 2 completely gone.
Oh,
and
no.
that True Shot Barrage, it does not find Jung, does not delay the recalls, but they got the work that they wanted anyway. Inhibitor turret already taken off the table. And now, once again, they're pinging for Baron, but I imagine how, or I wonder how the call will change since Saber, with this hole breaker, maybe tries to threaten it, but now he's recalling, so I'm not sure if Ultra Prime really believe in their ability to base race against the Baron take.
No, I don't think they're willing to take the flip. And I mean, I don't think I would be either. JDG, again, it's just a good trade. Ala buys a lot of time. Also, great discipline, not casting the ultimate down there as well, knowing that, you know, he's going to withdraw, and you could potentially TP and, you know, stop a potential rotation from Junhao. Good stuff. generally good stuff as they now start the Baron. They know there's no vision because they just popped the Scuttle a second ago. Plenty of pings coming down from Ultra Prime, so they still know Spider senses tingling, and they see it now.
And there's no split push pressure, so Ultra Prime are opting into what should be JDG favored in this 5-on-5 composition that they've built for teamfighting. But Missing is already taken off of the fight, but that's the Otacon GA. They turn on to the left side looking for Zhang, pops the stasis, but gets out with the leap strike, looking at Shun. He secures the Baron. Oh, wait, Junhao stole the Baron away from JDG! JDG, they completely lost their marbles. They're losing a couple members on both sides, but that's a big win for Ultra Prime to take away and deny the Baron as Wako
Wako!
Pays. He's flashing forward. He wants a statement to be made. He takes out Pays, and he goes down for his efforts, but holy moly.
Hold on.
I like what you're cooking here, Wako.
Yeah, I don't mind. Honestly, if Scout did a TP there as well, the Wako might have really fried them in that 2v1. John, he's going to move down here to this dragon. He's going to look to secure it, but teleport's coming out from Arla. He's moving over. Scout, he's also moving over. There's no way that Ultra Prime are going to be able to take this one. They will face check, but they're more than fine. RosieLove, he's getting pushed down. And CC as well onto Jung.
Counter-Strike only on the 2-member. He's got to delay as much time as possible. RosieLove gets popped, and Scout is looking for Zhang next. Zhang is doing everything he can. Another proc with the Counter-Strike with the CDR just is not enough. JDG withstand and withhold. All the Baron buffs are off the table, and the crisis is averted for JDG as they have this opportunity to secure this dragon.
Goodness me, it's just so messy, man. And Shun as well in that Baron pit. Opportunity to smite it. Doesn't quite press the button. I don't know what else to say. And as he dies as well, I think, well, not I think, the Atacon buff dropped off mid-fight for JDG. Very unfortunate, as we'll see in this replay. Missing a little bit too far forward, trying to zone. I'm not quite sure. You know, I think it just needs to be a little bit more on top of pace. That's all I'm going to say. Manages to still get use out of the Atacon buff, but the buff drops off, I think, in about 2 seconds or so. It might be on the exact same frame that shouldn't die. Just plain and simple, actually. Look, he's 1 HP, 1 HP, 1 HP. Drops off then, right? It's kind of unlucky. He doesn't get that Baron smited down either. Junhao, quicker on the draw than JDG. Unfortunately, as that Void Seeker hits, Wako takes it. And like I said, if TP doesn't come down from Victor here, from Scout, there's a real world I can see where Wako
Space glides all over them.
Yeah, he might space glide all over them. One more passive proc, I think, kills Arla there almost every day of the week.
I'm really happy with how we got here in this game 3. The game is once again not really strongly in favor in either side. Ultra Prime are technically ahead in gold, but we're 32 minutes in the game, so the 1,000 gold lead doesn't feel the most suffocating. And JDG, with their composition on paper, 5-on-5, they have the tools to space out and fight front to back. But Ultra Prime also have these powerful split push threats that JDG have consistently needed to attend to before they look at objectives.
Yeah, they've a little bit second sort of draw a lot of the time here, JDG, on that front. But now, you know, spoke about how items need to come online. That was a century ago. Carries are now 4 items apiece, right? Between Pays and Scout.
Baby.
And we've seen how much damage Scout's been able to do to the frontliners, specifically Gian. So really does make you wonder how Ultra Prime are going to look to try and approach this now, because no longer do you just kind of get default control of the mid lane, right? And rotate that into side lane pressure. That part of the game's kind of done, you know? When these Uber buffs start spawning up, Baron, Soul, of course, for Ultra Prime, next dragon that spawns up in a couple of minutes' time, it's very difficult to play out the game with the champions that you have now, right? And that is kind of the pros and cons of having things like an elite support in the game. Amazing amount of early pressure. Later on in the game, you just kind of have an elite walking around with, you know, Storm Surge, Sword Boots, and you're hoping that the damage that she's putting out is either onto Scout or onto Pays, and if it's not, then champion's just not super valuable.
Yep. Yeah. The bane of having Elise in any meta in the history of League of Legends. You don't get this off the ground early and you don't close it out, then you're just a cocoon bot, and that doesn't feel great. And for JDG, their chances of being able to navigate these corridors where they don't really have vision, it's a lot easier when you have your frontliners being the ones face checking and being able to grant safe passage for your squishier targets and your priority carries. Still waiting on a couple of objectives to spawn here on the map, Baron, in the next minute. I'm not going to even try and guess Dragon because last time I was very incorrect. So when Dragon spawns, they'll spawn. And that'll be sole point for Ultra Prime to contest for, and JDG not quite, but they'll try to see if they can deny it here, Jamada.
Yep, we will have to wait and see. 30 seconds until the Baron though, and that will be spawning slightly ahead of time on that Dragon, so that could end up being the priority. Pays, we saw that -1. We saw it. Okay, and he's actually got a Seeker's Arm Guard, so he is absolutely chilling between Bloodthirster, between Cleanse and Flash, and just being Ezreal. He could have a really good time. Ultra Prime there's looking for a play on the side lane, and I like this. All in on the side lane. You've got the Hull Breaker. It's really hard for Arla to kill. JDG have to respond to this.
My goodness, I mean, the turret just evaporated. Scout is there to answer, but Saber's just going to try and force his hand. That's Seeker's or Zonya's gone, and now Saber has to run for the hills, popping the Ghost. But they've got their objective in taking out that inhibitor tower. Yeah, the inhibitor itself is still alive. Oh boy. I'm pretty sure that ward should spot them that they're doing Baron.
I mean, they would have maybe seen... Yeah, I think they saw Victor, and they're probably seeing the Baron particles, right? So now they know Ultra Prime. They should get this soul. Ultra Prime should get soul. I think JDG have to all in this Baron. Otherwise, it's just a trade that Ultra Prime are happy to get. But a little bit hesitant. It's late, but also look where Junhao is. He's being held up here by Arla. And I think this Baron should go down, but how did Ultra Prime get the fight after
3,000, Junhao, can he get into the
Junhao,
pit? He's close, he does it again! Junhao, the man that was behind Shun's spot in BLG on the BLG Junior team, is able to show up against the man that was in front of him. He does go down, but they deny Baron buff away from JDG. Ultra Prime now just have to live. They have to contain as many Baron buffs as they can for the last surviving members, as a Cocoon will force the cleanse out of Pays. He wants to keep track and try and run down as many members as possible. Soul was obtained by Ultra Prime. Baron was obtained by Ultra Prime. This is the closest that they have been able to tango with JDG, and I am living for it, Jamada.
Okay, I don't want to be mean, but we got JDG Yike in this? In this house, so what's going on?
Hey, I will not tolerate Peruvian goat slander on my cast.
I love... Okay, in his defense, this one far harder to hit, but
yeah,
2 times back-to-back, man. It feels so bad for JDG. If they're ever able to pick this one up as that Q does so much damage onto Junhao, unless you know where Pace is at in the game. If he isn't able to, get these steals, this game is over. He is single-handedly keeping Ultra Prime in the game with these objective steals. And now Ultra Prime have Soul, right? That's the permanent buff that you're looking for. And again, remember, imagine trying to get away from a Tryndamere, or like catching up to a Tryndamere who's popped ult at 1 HP, or a Jax who's trying to run you down, right? These things feel awful. Trying to lock down a Kai'Sa that's just dove in. This is one of those Cloud Souls that, at face value, maybe you think, it's kind of whatever. But then when you really think about how it's going to be, how the champions are going to start interacting with JDG, it gets really, really hard to think about.
For the first time this series, JDG are on the back foot, and they are running out of options. And every single time that they have had a way out of this game to put it in a position where they can close it, they fumbled. And big props to Junhao for being clutch on the steals. However, he might be caught out here. This call of the Forge God will land true, and ain't no way Junhao's escaping this one. JDG forced the numbers advantage on the map, but what can they do with it during the next minute that Junhao is not alive?
Junhao dead. 50-second death timer as well. How much can JDG get done? I mean, their side lanes are really the big problem, right? So they're going to look for this mid lane inhibitor because they broke open the base earlier. And it will be a 3 versus 2. Pays shouldn't missing. Will be an inhibitor down, but it's the mid lane inhib, right? So it's not the most important, but I think in this context, it's pretty good because you're dealing with all of this side lane pressure, right? And it kind of acts as a bit of a counterweight. You've always got super minions pushing through the mid lane. Hold on, Wako!
Into the back line, but he's got to be careful for the Cyclone as Shun completes the flash and knocks him up, but Saber is here for the collapse. Pace is left all by himself, but he deals with RosieLove anyway. The rest of Ultra Prime trying to eliminate JDG's last carry into Scout, but he pops the stasis, and that Chaos Storm has the power of the Arcane, ripping them to shreds, and Ultra Prime might have just blown their one shot to take a game off of JDG, because now they're down 3 members, and JDG is still rocking with 4.
Yeah, Pace is walking towards the mid lane. There's no wave for the moment, but as I say it, look how close it really is. Arlo drops the ward for Scout, and it's 4 members of JDG in the base against Jax and Vi. 2 versus 4. Let's see if Ultra Prime can hold on to this one.
Can Junhao pull out another miracle? He sends it onto Scout, but Pace is just free firing with these mystic shots, and if you can't take either out, there's just no chance in hell you can stop the power of JDG. 3-0, GG, well played.
Real end-to-end stuff this game. And I mean, we've credited JDG throughout a lot of this series, just for, you know, the general macro that they've shown, but Ultra Prime, honestly, this was like this felt like an anime fight, right? First round, show up, get washed. Second game, show up, surprise. You know, it's like the main antagonist just barely just kind of grazes the bad guy on that one attack, and then this time round, it was just straight hands, start to finish. Definitely by design though, right? JDG, it was a scaling comp. It was very difficult to play the game out early, and Ultra Prime abused that. They were so creative, but when push came to shove, if you don't execute on a draft like that, it gets too difficult to really close out. Even with the freebies that were handed, Junhao stole 2 Barons in one game.
At that point, when you're the jungler in that instance, you kind of throw your hands up in the air and just say, well, guys, I tried. I'm sorry I couldn't do more, you know? Not to say that Junhao was completely without fault, but this was, for a moment, such an impressive showing from Ultra Prime. And once again, you know, the story is similar to what we got against the Weibo Gaming series. For the most part, you know, Ultra Prime expected to just get completely smashed. Remember, this is a roster with 3 players making their official LPL